With your vehicle safely raised and supported, take off all 6 lug nuts using a 21mm socket, and then remove the wheel. If your wheel is stuck on like this one, go ahead and thread a lug nut back on. Get a large rubber mallet and hit it from the backside. Always hit the tire, not the rim. There we go. And remove your wheel. Once the wheel is off, let's go ahead and remove the outer tie rod. Remove the locking cotter pin that locks this castle nut in place. And with a 19mm, go ahead and remove this nut. Start it in just a few threads so that when I take the tie rod off, it doesn't just fall. And then go ahead and hammer right here on the knuckle. That's going to break the tie rod free from the knuckle. All right, perfect. Now that that's broken free, before I move any further, I want to loosen up the locking jam nut here. You can use a 24mm wrench. Break that free. Sometimes it's a lot more difficult to break these free. Mine was actually not so tight, which maybe it was not a good sign, but anyway, sometimes they require a little more effort. Now remove this nut and pull the tie rod out of the knuckle. And what you want to do next is count the amount of turns it takes to remove this outer tie rod when we put the new one on. Now, of course, you have this jam nut here, so you can match it up to the exact depth, but you also want to count the amount of threads so that when you put the new one on, turn it the same amount of times and it'll get you as close as possible to what your alignment was before. Next, get your new outer tie rod and install it the same amount of threads that it took to remove it. Okay, right about there, that's perfect. Bring the jam nut closer and start the tie rod into the knuckle. Install your castle nut. Torque this castle nut to 67 foot-pounds. And now you want to line up the hole with the castle nut. For me, it actually happens to line up perfectly. If not, you want to keep tightening until it does, never loosen. And install your cotter pin to lock it all in. Bend it over. Last but not least, go ahead and tighten up this jam nut. Make sure it's nice and tight. And then you just want to center the tie rod and make sure it's not sitting at an angle here at the ball joint. All right, the next step is to get the wheel on, and then of course you're gonna have to get yourself an alignment. Next, get the wheel back on. Start on all 6 lug nuts, and then I'll bottom them out, torque them to 83 foot-pounds.